Dear self, I love you. So I had to remove some people from your life. I needed to show you how to value yourself, allow you to understand who you are. I needed to tear you apart, piece by piece, no matter how painful it was or how loud you cried. I needed to clear a path for your growth. I needed to show you that love isn't based on the relation, it's based on the heart. You needed to grow through the pain, the hurt, the disappointment, the trauma, and the detachment. You needed to feel the sharp pains of isolation. You needed for people to judge and discredit you. You needed to feel the neglect and the push away when you needed a hug. You needed to know that the people that told you that they loved you really hated you or what they really meant by it. You really needed to know that. You needed to know and hear all of the awful things said about you. You had to understand why you were going from person to person looking for love. Why attaching to another person so fast based off the slightest gesture had you head over heels. You needed to understand why you needed a lot of people around you, why that made you feel loved. You needed to know that you were beautiful with your clothes on. Now that you have set the foundation of part of the trauma, now we can grow. I started my healing process with having a conversation I'm sorry. I decided to have a conversation with a person so close to my heart. I was excited to let her know that I had discovered myself. I wanted to express I was excited to express what I had discovered about myself. I started to express the experience that I had, the traumatic experience that I had when I was 12, how it traumatized and how it hurt me. I wanted her to be proud that I had become self-aware of my trauma and I was ready to heal from it. There was a slight intense moment, a moment of argue with a gaslighting ending. I love you was expressed, and that was my last conversation. I made several ignored attempts, finally realizing that forcing someone to love me is unhealthy. I started to self-reflect more and more, trying to understand the basis for the despise. It's been 3 years of total isolation and lack of love and comfort that I needed, especially when I lost one of the closest persons to me. I started to realize even more the foundation of my trauma. Lack of love, unaddressed insecurities will send you down a bad decision highway. One can only genuinely love themselves if they're able to sit with themselves. Learning to love yourself requires hard conversations, alone with self time, acknowledgement of one's own toxicity and baggage. Sit in silence and let your thoughts speak to you. Don't be afraid of what you might hear. Mirror looks and alone time will show you exactly who you are. The experience of getting to know myself has been one of the best experiences of my life because it allowed me to produce the best version of who I am. Looking back, I was not the greatest mother. I was not the greatest friend, the greatest wife, the greatest girlfriend, because my bags had not been unpacked, and I was carrying bags full of toxicity, unaddressed trauma, insecurities, lack of confidence, the need for validation, the need for constant validation. I made it easy for people to come into my life just with the slightest, you're beautiful, or you're going to amount to something. Easy because of the lack of love, the lack of compassion that I had for self. It had me jumping from relationship to relationship, trying to, I guess, soothe the needs that I had. Because I could not be by myself. I did not want to be by myself because I couldn't stand the thoughts that I couldn't stand the thoughts, or I couldn't stand just to be with myself because I hated myself. I hated myself so much that I allowed the wrong people in my home, in my bed, in the presence of my children. I am still in the process of loving my daughters properly because they did not get the proper love that they deserved because of the love that I lacked for myself. So my inability to love myself made it hard for me to love my daughters or anyone else that came into my life. Self-reflection required me to be accountable for my actions and change my behavior. I've asked for forgiveness repeatedly from my daughters. They did not deserve the version that I showed, the version of the example that I set. So, self, this version of you is not for everyone. I have a love for self that is unmatched. And if one does not have that same love for self, we won't balance. There is a huge difference between someone that needs to be loved versus someone that wants to be loved. Decide which category you fall in and ask yourself why. This is Genuinely Black. Stay tuned.